is the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent Podcast, hosted by me, Kelly Donahue-Piro. This show is for growing insurance agencies looking to maximize their biggest investment, their people. Listen to the top agency performance partners clients share their story on how they boosted their performance by executing a plan. Let's head to the show. So the first setup you have to do is understand what the report is showing you. And what this means is, if you're looking at a new business report, is it showing on binder date or effective date? You have to understand the report, not just say it's wrong, but actually understand what fields it's pulling from and why. Many times in insurance, there's a few different areas that we can have some opportunity on. And so we need to identify clearly what that looks like. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about understanding the report. So the first setup you have to do is understand what the report is showing you. And what this means is, if you're looking at a new business report, is it showing on binder date or effective date? You have to understand the report, not just say it's wrong, but actually understand what fields it's pulling from and why. Many times in insurance, there's a few different areas that we can have some opportunity on. And so we need to identify clearly what that looks like. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about understanding the report. So one of the things we've been working on here at APP is the idea of the metrics in your management system. And we're doing data visualization software with a lot of our 2-year program clients. What we've been finding, though, is data provides a large amount of frustration for clients. And you can sense the frustration even as we're looking at the reports and dealing with them. And so I get it. I understand. That's why I wanted to break down these 4 videos. This is Kelly Donahue-Piro from Agency Performance Partners. And we've got 4 videos on why data is frustrating. And I'm just going to start off this first video by saying, I firmly believe that in many instances, the reports in insurance are too tedious, too difficult, and too hard. And I don't think that it's your fault. But I do think that there are a lot of steps that we can take to make it better. And as many of you know, I live in a zero excuse environment. So the fact that it's hard doesn't mean that we should stop, right? So many agencies, they run a report in their management system. Let's just say lost policies. No, it's wrong. It's wrong. I didn't lose that much business. I'm like, simmer down. Simmer down. Okay. There are 4 reasons a report in insurance are wrong. And by the way, most of the time it's 3 out of 4, if not 4 out of 4, that's causing frustration. So because we see it's wrong, we back away because it's complicated and it's tedious. And I want to tell you, the first step we need to take is understanding the report. What is this report saying? You might be thinking it's telling me all my lost policies for the week. Well, if we're going off the expiration date, and you're on a system that doesn't change the expiration date for a midterm cancellation, yes, that report could be wrong. But if the report's actually right, our expectations of the report are wrong, and our workflow is wrong. And so you have to understand what you're looking at. There are some carriers that download duplicate, cancellations because they have renewal offers out, so they have to cancel the old policy and the new policy. There's all these things. You have to peel through the data. And I know that that's tedious. You also have to understand what the report is showing you. So for example, if you have not renewed policies in the system and there's a bunch of new business to be entered in, your book of business is going to be off. You have to understand exactly what are the logistics of the report. Now, again, this is one of those things where I'd love an easy button, but we're dealing with a lot of complicated information. We're dealing with downloads. We're dealing with human entry. We're dealing with report filters. And the downloads aren't perfect either. And that's going to be the topic of one of our videos. But when you stop and you look at the reports in just a daily or even a weekly snapshot, it becomes so much less overwhelming than seeing 100 records on a report and being like, WTF. So we have to start everything by saying, what is this report showing me? What is it trying to teach me? And not getting frustrated. I mean, so many agents, as we're showing them the data, get on the calls with us, very frustrated. Like, what's going on? That can't be right. I'm like, okay, simmer down. Let's look at the data. Let's look at each record and figure out what's going on. Is the date range right? Because sometimes we're pulling cancellation data, week after week. Well, sometimes clients show up on there 2 or 3 times because of the way the download works. So we have to say, okay, let's back up. How are we going to fix this? To me, all the data in your system starts for 6 months as we're showing clients data as clues. It's not something that you're going to make a decision on, but it is something for 6 months you have to have clues on so you build confidence in the data. And our expectations are we hit that report, it's right every single time, and that's the end of it. And unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that those expectations are irrational based on today's technology. Now, they're rational outside of insurance, but today's systems inside of insurance still fail us on many, many efforts on this. However, we can fix it. So if you're looking at reports, I want you to look at them for 6 months. Put the date on the calendar as clues. I'm at an agency right now that when we pull their book of business, there's this 1 week spike where their policies go up by a couple hundred and then shoot back down again. And it's jacking up people's bonus numbers. And so people are pissed, as they should be. But we have to figure out, why was that 1 week having a huge spike in policies? What happened that week? And now we have a clue to go looking for it and figure it out, because if it happened once, it can happen again. So I want everybody to just take a big deep breath on your data. I know it's frustrating and I know it's icky and I know it's horrible. But if you think about it for 6 months as clues, an investigation with a tour guide, which is hopefully us, we can get there and get it right. So that's our first step, understanding, what is this report trying to show me? Not is it right or wrong? Let me understand what the report is. Do we need to change the report filters? Do we need to do something differently? And then just start looking at it from the perspective of clues. The next reason your agency management system reports might not work is human error. And this one's pretty darn common. Whether someone doesn't update something, someone uses the wrong code, someone puts something in the wrong field. When we're doing things manually, there's a high likelihood of human error. And because many people are just using the management system for their own personal use to keep track of their clients, they don't always connect the dots to the bigger picture of why everybody needs to be working uniformly. This is why looking at the data is so critical and keeping on it is important. We'll digest this in our next video.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's the Mayor Heath Sharon here with another 3-minute video. And I'm pumped to be here with you this week. And we're talking data and we're talking agency management systems and the reasons why your agency management system reports are wrong or are not necessarily correct. And, you know, I think it starts and ends with the fact that the human error is real. The struggle is real in that area because, again, let's face it, we're all human. And as a former agency owner and a former producer and worked in agencies, it happens. It happens in my own system here with HubSpot, with APP. I mean, you enter the wrong data, or you click a button wrong, or you forget sometimes to get back to the office. You've got that napkin with, that sold business on it that you got at the restaurant or the bar the night before, and you forget, or you can't read it, or you type it in wrong, whatever it might be. That human error is definitely a real issue. And I think that's important, that you make sure that you take your time, get that information in there correctly. And I think most importantly, I think you got to have a proper workflow. I think you got to have a proper process of what that looks like, so and everyone's uniform in the agency of what goes in and what's important to your agency to put in the management system. Since agency workflow usually consists of a process similar start, a similar middle, and a similar end, I suggest creating that template for those processes and standardizing them, automating them if possible, so that, it makes sense. And so if you want the source, the lead source to come in, or if you want the type of policy, whatever, you want certain information put in there from every person, you need to have that consistency. That way you slow down and take your time, enter that in correctly, and you eliminate that human error issue, the workflow issues, things like that. I think it always helps to have that checklist, whether it's on the computer or whether it's a paper checklist, or whether it's, something mentally, whatever that may be. You got to have that checklist to be able to say, okay, did I put this data in? Did I put this data in? Did I put that in? Did I research to make sure I had this? Did I make sure I asked that question? Did I do this? And I think that's super crucial to make sure you've got all that management system information in there correctly. You got to have a checklist to make sure, yep, got that, yep, got that, yep, got that. That's just going to make your life that much easier and your agency that much easier, so that if something were to happen and you were out that next day, all your information's in there correctly. I think a huge part of this that every agency should be doing is processing and policy checking. I think this is huge. to make sure there's no empty fields, to make sure there's no wrong info put in the fields. And I think, missing phone numbers, missing emails, missing titles, wrong address, wrong phone number, wrong email address, duplicate data, all of that is found within policy checking. If you start doing those things and that becomes a regular routine, you're going to eliminate a lot of the wrong data in your agency management system. So let's make sure we do some of these things here. I think the human error is real. We've talked about accurate workflows, checklists, and that policy checking. That is huge to make sure. And that is why your agency management system reports are wrong. That's a mouthful, Kelly. But, guys, that's one of the things that you can slow down. Talk to your team about. Maybe your next agency sales meeting, you sit down and just make sure that's correct. Because if it's not in the management system, it doesn't count. If it's not in there correctly, then it's hard to run those reports sometimes. And clean data is good data. If it's not clean, then it's just going to take more time, make you less efficient, and it just makes things more difficult. So let's make sure we have that clean data put in the management system. Thank you so much, guys. I look forward to hanging out with you on the next one.
So there's one thing that I'm committed to solving as I turn 40, which is eradicating the word busy from insurance agencies. So often, so many times, we're not hitting our agency's potential just because our team is busy. And sometimes they're busy doing the wrong things. They're over-servicing the least desirable clients, or they're not sure how to manage email and tasks, so they're just working off of 5 different places. Or inevitably, they're taking too many payments, which the carriers can take. There's about 10 different core issues that agencies face with time management, and lo and behold, we have just revamped our time management course to tackle each one by one for your team. What I've found in my experiences is that when agencies feel like there's a little bit more time in the day, the cross-selling increases, the follow-ups on new business explode, and ultimately your team turnover is lower because they're not as stressed. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, how does time management help me grow my agency? It helps you avoid all the obstacles that you're spending too much time on, such as putting out fires. And when your team is working uniformly and collectively and can do this thing, which is raise their hand and ask for help, and you as a leader have metrics to manage backlog, you can dive in and be more productive and efficient for your clients. So it's been said that all of our programs hinge on time management. If you can nail down time management, you can make renewal calls. You can have a better closing ratio. You can run your agency more efficiently and effectively, and that's what I've solved in this course. I hope that you become a student. I hope that you subscribe to our courses, because if your team meetings are lagging and your team needs access to great knowledge, our courses are the answer. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started moving your team from busy to effective. And let's go ahead and eradicate that B word from all of our agencies. Have fun and let's go kill it, guys. We want to make your agency ridiculously amazing. And all that starts out with efficiency and effectiveness in your client experience. What are you waiting for? Let's go do it. The download is a blessing and sometimes a curse, but mostly a blessing. Even in commercial lines, I know some agencies shy away from commercial lines download, but I need everyone to start embracing it. You have to understand how it works, both in personal lines and commercial lines. The download can clear out data. There's some things you have to do after the download, and you have to understand how every carrier downloads because they are all different. But understanding the downloads allows you to get the data accurately in real time, for the most part, and then be able to clean up a few things. So understanding your download will have a critical impact on your reports. So everybody knows this week I'm on my data rampage about data and reports and all that stuff. The next thing we're going to talk about is your download. So there's a huge debate of commercial download, yes or no. I say yes because it does save time. You just have to know how it works, just like personal lines download. Personal lines download does the same exact thing. In personal lines, we just let the download take over and do our thing and then go back over the download. But the download, carriers download things differently. Every carrier has their own strategy on how they're going to download. There are settings inside of a lot of management systems where you can pick what downloads and what doesn't. But what I want to share with everybody is the importance of understanding your download. The importance that we need to have activities to check the download. If you rewrite somebody, you need to have a suspense out there or an activity to check that you got the cancellation and the new business. In particular, why you have to do this is that cancellation most likely in most systems has to be recoded to either rewritten, or and whatever status is in your system. This new business is not truly new business. It's a rewrite. So if you pay producers a different commission on new business, the agency is actually losing money. This has to happen. Most systems don't automatically do it, which is frustrating, but you need a process in place so you're not paying producers too much and you're able to get an accurate cancellation and new business report. Otherwise, you show a cancellation, you show a new business, and it shouldn't be on either. But here's the kicker. For most of you, you can't get an accurate retention report if that's what's going on. So it is more work and it drives you batty, and you want to make sure your team is doing it. And sometimes there's frustration just to say, how do I even know they're doing it? The data is clues, like I said earlier. The clues show us what's working, what's not working, so that we can fix it. And if we look at things in 1 week increments, we find a lot of clues. 6 months of clues leads to better workflows, leads to everything. So it's an endeavor. And I want to apologize again. I'm sorry that the systems operate this way in insurance, but it shouldn't excuse us from having accurate retention reports. These are the guiding metrics that we need to have. And so if you commit to it, you can get there. And this is all part of our 2-year program that we walk clients through. And we learn a lot. And what we find is that even though 2 clients are in Epic, because the carrier profiles are different, we have to make modifications. What we find a lot of times is, depending on who's doing what, when, why, how, and where, and the processes and procedures, we need to make modifications. So even though we have guides written by the top management system experts in this country for all of our clients, either if you're in the school or in our 2-year program, we still have to make some modifications based on carrier downloads. So nothing is perfect, but what I'd like to say is we have to unpeel this onion. You cannot keep operating your agencies with no transparency on the data. And you need help walking through that, and I understand that. But it is an endeavor. It's not an easy button. And if anybody's looking for the easy button in insurance data, God bless them. It doesn't exist out there. It's so many things and you're hearing them in these videos of, well, could be this, and it's usually 3 or 4 of them. So you still have one and it's still not right, and you just have to keep going. And that's what I'm talking to you today about on this 3-minute video. Many times when we work with agencies, we say it's a 6-month process to get your data cleaned up and usable. And why I feel that is so incredibly key is that you have to do it. You have to go through all these different challenges. Many times it might be 3 of these 4 items that is really you're struggling with. And so in order to make sure you can run an effective business, you have to go through the pain of getting your data right. The good thing is once it's right, you can just go into maintenance mode. And that's what we cover in this video.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's the mayor here with another 3-minute video, and I'm excited to be hanging out with y'all again today. And this week, we're talking about your agency management system and the reports and the data and why it's wrong. And I know that's so frustrating when you're trying to have that clean data and you want to have those reports ran, you want them to be correct, and whatever your management system is, it's so frustrating when it's not. And, you're trying to figure out why. Well, this week we've been talking about that, hoping it's helped you a little bit. There's a few things that I just want to add to the conversation from this week. And that is you need to operate based on facts, not emotions, not fiction, not anything other than facts. If you don't know the data, if you don't have the data, first of all, look it up. When you start looking, it's amazing what you'll find. But, if you don't know it, look it up, figure it out, get the question answered, get it in the system based on facts. When you do start looking at the data in your management system, it's pretty amazing what you'll find out. It's so crucial that you have that data in there correctly and that everything is put in there accurately, because you want to make sure that you find the right stuff in there. And when the data that you have in your agency is correct and it is accurate and everything is right with the world, then the data provides clues on what you need to fix. If you're running a report on this or that and the data's not right, it's going to tell you real quick what to fix. If you try to run a query on something and all the data that comes back is all mixed up and jumbled, or you get an error message, or you get this, it'll tell you what you need to fix by having the data in there. And if you want to run a report on this or that and it's not there, it can be so frustrating. So let's make sure that you enter that data in correctly based on facts, and use those clues you need to know what to fix. And then the last thing I would say, which is probably one of the biggest things, is that accountability. You got to hold your team accountable to putting this information in the management system correctly, whether it's a lead, a prospect, or where they're at in the sales funnel, even whether they're in the pipeline, what's going on there, or what information is going in there has got to be, you got to hold people accountable so that everyone can operate out of that management system and do it the right way. You want, to be able to run those reports. You want to be able to look up clients. You want to be able to pass information back and forth with correct information. So you got to make sure you hold your team accountable. And whether that's using accountability partners, whether that's using team meetings, whether that's something that you discuss every sales meeting, or, whatever that creative system that you use to hold people accountable. I heard this week someone talk about a WHAM, a weekly accountability meeting. I thought that was genius. So whether it's a weekly accountability meeting, whether it's a team, whatever that looks like, hold your team accountable to make sure that the information put in the management system is accurate, timely, correct, all of those things. It will make your life that much better. Thanks, guys. Hope this helped. Look forward to hanging out with you on the next one.
Hey, everybody. So want to just let you know, we have our Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent podcast. And if you have not already gone and subscribed to it, you're missing out, because it's one of the only insurance podcasts out there that has no sponsors, 0 sponsors. And the reason that we do that is we believe that we want to be the podcast for agencies with the people problems, the growing agencies. If you've got 10 people out there, you know what I'm talking about. It gets harder with different personalities. And so we want to bring to you the best vendors. We want to bring to you also the best agency stories out there of facing and doing the hard things for the agencies that are growing. And so if you're interested in a new insurance podcast that isn't too crazy, let us know. We actually do these 3-minute videos as podcasts. You might be listening to it right now. So go ahead, subscribe to the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent podcast. You can go to our website under the podcast section. It's on the top left-hand corner. There's a drop down, click podcasts and subscribe. Go to Apple or iTunes and you can also subscribe there. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. All right, hopefully you got a better handle on why data is so important, some steps to look at if it's wrong, and what to do about it. We're always here to help as well. So hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your week. Remember, if you've enjoyed our videos, like them, comment them, and share. We don't have any sponsors. We're just doing this to get back to the insurance community. We'll see you next week.